Hi, I'm Molly.
And I'm Jamie, and this is our From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast. As the owners of Hired Hand website software, we've been developing websites and creating internet marketing strategies for livestock breeders for the past 10 years.
The majority of our customers are involved in the breeding of registered animals, such as Texas longhorns, Highland cattle, horses, and white-tailed deer, where the pedigrees are very important. The From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast examines many of the differences in raising pedigreed livestock for maximum profit. Join us and learn what we're covering today.
So today I'm joined with Colin Wyatt. He's the ranch manager for Diamond B Cattle. Thanks for joining us today, Colin.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about Diamond B and your role, and we'll just kind of get into it from there.
All right. I'm the ranch manager for Diamond B. It got started about 3 years ago as far as buying the first longhorns and getting rolling. We have our house and the main facilities are up by Amarillo, and then we have a ranch about an hour and a half east of here off of I-40, where we keep the majority of our cattle and have most of the land at. We basically started like everybody else, and we thought the longhorns were pretty, like the colors, like the variety, and we bought one, and one turned to two, and two turned to 50 and plus. I personally have had longhorns about 3 years and started about the same time as the owner, Benny Brigman. And we recently met about a little over a year ago after Benny had bought Cut and Dry. And since then, we met a few times and talked, and I came on as manager here in the last spring.
So has he always had longhorns, or tell us a little bit about, I know you mentioned that, everyone thinks they're pretty, everyone wants a few, and then the herd doubles, but maybe a little bit more specifically, why longhorns?
It started as a hobby. Him and his wife both loved them. They saw some on the side of the road when they were on a trip, and it kind of, a quick conversation turned to, yeah, those would be fun to have. And so then he went home and started researching, and then he bought one. I believe he bought one steer to start with, and then later that night after he got his first one, he started searching some more, and then he thought maybe he needed some more, and it just becomes addiction, like everybody says.
So is that how it started for you as well? Did you and Benny have that in common when you met?
Yes, I grew up on a large ranch, but it was just Angus and beef cattle, and I got some land on my own about 3 years ago, and I was looking at what we were going to do with the land, and I didn't really want to look at black cows or brown cows every day, and so we got to looking into them and the temperament of them, and if my kids were going to be around them every day, I decided we bought our first one, and then it just kind of snowballed from there the same way. We'd buy a few more. We bought two more pretty quick afterwards, and then we still have a very small herd, but it's the same thing. Just a lot of the animals you go to a sale just to watch, and you're like, well, maybe I could bring one home today.
So besides the sales, you mentioned you'd find one here or there, and I'm sure you help, Benny with that part as well. What sorts of systems do you use, or how do you go about finding fellow breeders to purchase them from, or sales to attend?
As far as the sales, we just kind of try to hit the main, I guess we're up in the Texas Panhandle by Amarillo, so there's really not an overabundance of local breeders like there is if you get in Central Texas or Oklahoma for us, but a short 6-hour drive can get you right in the heart of longhorn country. So we've kind of go to the main cells there that we can still say semi-local for us, and you don't have to, we haven't been across to like any in the North Dakota or over on the west or east coast. We just kind of stay here semi-local for us. But then it's here recently since I've came on, we've really focused on improving our herd rapidly, and so it's kind of a genetic based, and we start looking at genetics or horns and then go from there and just go down the rabbit trail that Hired Hand provides for us. so we can keep going from breeder to breeder and find others.
So does that task fall on your shoulders? Does he kind of rely on you to lay out those breeding strategies, or does he like to be involved in that as well?
Here, so far, it seems like the sell end, it's really relied more on me because I've been to him before. Me and him linked up, and he hasn't actually ever been to any of the sales yet. So I'll get the catalogs and I'll kind of mark a few or that I like or that I'm interested in, and then I'll give him the magazine, and he goes from there and kind of looks them over, and we decide off of it there. We're both always searching the internet and the web, and we'll send a text back or forth or a link to someone's website. What do you think of this cow? But he's been more influential of the searching here lately as far as, hey, I think I like this cow. I want to look at her more. You should go. What do you think of this one? And you go check her out or call them and see if she's for sale or whatever.
So what's your favorite part in the job that you hold, but also, you have your own herd? What's your favorite part about the Longhorns in general?
I like the diversity that they provide. They're pretty to look at, but the breed provides so much more when you look at a whole, because if you want to go for just genetics and horn growth, then there's a market just for that. There's the beef market, there's the horns, and once they pass on or whatever, you still have the horns you can sell or the hide. So there's so much you can do with them, and it all depends on where you want to go or your economic value. If you don't, if you're just a low-end breeder that doesn't have the money, but you still love the breed, you can still have a herd at your house and do something with them. Or if you're the biggest breeder in the industry, you still have a market for them as well.
That's very true. So if we were going to think about Diamond B's future, let's say the next 3 to 5 years, what sort of goals do you all have laid out for your herd and your breeding program?
In the last 3 or 4 months, me and Benny have been on the same page about we want to buy each animal we buy to be as good or better than the last one we bought. So we're really wanting to go more into the genetic and the horn growth side of the industry and market that way. We'd really like to be one of the elite programs that everyone looks at or talks about here in the next 5 years.
Is there anyone specific that you kind of go to for advice, or that you want to give credit for helping you get started, or maybe to make the turn towards that part of or that future for your breeding program?
As far as to get us really influential in getting Diamond B started, Ross Ollendorf was influential, and he provided Diamond B with the first and quite a few of our herd. More recently, we've contacted through the purchase of Cut and Dried. We've become good contacts with Daryl Dickinson, and we've really reached out to him a lot as far as animals and advice and stuff like that. But more personally, when I got started, one of the first ranches that we visited and the people that we got in contact with was the Struhoffs, and they were just great to my family and kids and everything else. So I've contacted them as well when I need advice too.
Is that one of the sales that you get to attend that's close enough to you, or no?
It's close enough, but I've actually, every time that they've had a sale in the last few years, I've always had previous engagements and never been able to make one of their sales.
Well, you'll have to plan ahead for next year or something. It's not only a great sale, but also just a really enjoyable weekend. So
I bet so. They have a beautiful place out there.
Mm-hmm. So before we kind of switch gears and talk a little bit about the Diamond B website, is there anything else that you want to share with us about your herd, the Diamond B herd, Longhorns, just in general?
Really, our herd it really got launched when we bought Cut and Dried, I guess, spring of 21. And that's what brought me and Benny together. And that's really kind of what we've been building off of, is putting our name on the map, is off of him and his future as far as that, with his excellent horn growth that he has. We also purchased Pretty Lady last spring as well, and she's one of the 20-ish cows over 100 inches tip to tip right now. And we have some plans for the future that hopefully we have some other big time cows coming.
So is she one of your favorites at the ranch?
She is. She's a little more standoffish. You have to admire her just because of her large horn stature. Personally, mine, I think probably Texas Mermaid, Texas Mermaid, we purchased her at the Hudson Valentine. Just the Mermaid line for me it's just a fantastic maternal line that can't really be beat. So she's probably one of the favorites that we have right now. That's mine.
So do you have any exciting pairings coming up for the next breeding season that you're already thinking about with any of those three?
We're looking into possibly doing some flushing or some IVF work here in the future. We haven't got any of that set up yet. Right now, Texas Mermaid, she's bred to Jumbo Jim for what should be a wintertime calf. We're pretty excited about that. I mean, he's mid-90s at like 3.5, 4 years old. So that should be an awesome calf as well.
So lots to look forward to then, for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Love what you're hearing? Be sure to check out our Pickup Truck Confessions. It's a video series where we hop in the truck or rental car and interview a variety of breeders about what drives their passion for their livestock, how they got started in the breed of their choice, marketing tips, and more. And now, back to the podcast.
Well, let's talk about your website for a little bit. So I would imagine Benny kind of put you in charge of, the marketing and finding something that, works to promote what you all are working towards. So what made you decide to choose Hired Hand for your site?
For me personally, I've looked at so many websites. I've seen many that Hired Hand has built, and I've seen there's not as few that you find that are not Hired Hand. But for me, once you find a Hired Hand site, that it's hard to go back to somebody else's. It's hard to want to continue to return there because it's not, the navigation's so much different. Once you've seen one Hired Hand, you've essentially seen them all. So there's no memory, there's no learning curve once you get to them. So when we first started, I started working here, and we discussed that if we're going to go forward, we need a website because we're not in the heart of Longhorn country. The Panhandle is all beef country, and that's really all anyone cares about for the most part. It talked about, it started with somebody else, but they kind of stopped. And I said, well, I don't know where we're at in that venture, but I would recommend Hired Hand. Like, I know you've seen them if you've looked at anyone's website. So once we go on there, and the pedigrees and the ease and jumping back and forth from site to site and breeder to breeder is so much easier. That's just the draw for me.
So we'll be sure to put a link in our show notes so folks can go check the website out. But why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the special considerations you put into it when you were working with Angie on, the pages and the kind of the layout for how you were going to portray the information?
For me, I'm not a big IT guy. I can navigate a computer and navigate the internet, but I sure can't build a website, obviously. I left a lot of the design to them. Benny left a lot of it to me. However, he was pretty easygoing as far as whatever I thought. And I left a lot of it to Angie and whoever she contacts from there. But I liked kind of neutral colors in a very simple layout. I've seen some that get really kind of crazy in the color schemes, and they're really bright and they pop, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with them. But for me, in my eyes, if I'm going to have to look at it every day, I like more of a neutral scheme that flows easily and is more toned down. And so that's kind of what I relayed to her. They gave us a couple designs, and the one I liked, I poured them on to Benny, and he he was on the same page. That was the simple one that I liked was his favorite as well. And since they both went together, I thought that there's no point of going further or questioning anymore. We might as well go with this one.
So since your site's been live for a little while now, how easy are you enjoying like being in there and being able to update it? Have you done much of that yet?
We have. We've done. We had to add some more animals because they weren't all available for Angie when she was doing it. I saved a few back just to learn, so that in 2 years from now, when I need to get in there, I don't have to call her to do everything for me. Not that she hasn't been called a lot in the last few weeks, anyway. Probably several times a week still. But, so it's very good. I love the ease of it. Once you get into it, I thought it might be more difficult, but it's very, very easy, even on the back end where the owners and managers work from, to make it's very easy on that end as well as the public side as well.
So throughout our conversation, you've mentioned, I would say some exciting, exciting things that you have going, such as the 100-horned animal, your new bull. Are those things that you're trying to relay on your website, or is there a way that you're maybe trying to stand out in the breed, aside from just being in the Panhandle?
As far as the website, we tried to incorporate we have the cut and drieds there on our front page, as well as in the bull section. But then we wanted to put, 3 or 4, just not a bunch, but just a few of the featured or kind of special animals there on the home page with a link to their profile once you go from there. That way, when you see the main page, you kind of help see where we're at. You don't have to look to see what we're going towards.
I like it. I really like how you made use of the 3 kind of diamonds there down in the middle to draw attention to some of the more prominent animals as well.
Yes. I wish I could take credit for that, but that was that was you as well.
So if you had to pick just one hired hand powered website that wasn't your own, that's your favorite, which one would you pick?
It's hard to pick a favorite because they're all so similar and great, just kind of preferences. But here lately, I've been on Harold's site quite a bit, looking at Rebel and researching some of his line. And I really like that when you go onto their site, before you ever even click on an animal to open up their profile or their information, you already know so much about them. They have everything laid out there right under the name, and it's very, very easy. And some of them, you want to know, or it's hard to tell in a picture what kind of horns they really have, and they just lay it out there for the world to see right on top.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners about anything with Diamond B or your website?
Just say, really stay tuned and keep checking our website frequently. We have some big plans and work for the future. Hopefully we'll be able to announce and put those out pretty soon. We're hoping to be able to get into the embryo work and maybe have some of those available off of these bigger, better cows. And we just recently released some cut and dried semen available for sale. So keep back. We have a sell page. Obviously, any other animal you want to know information about, just give us a call. Whether you just want to know or see them, or if you are interested in buying them when they're not actually listed, we're always open for offers.
Perfect. Will you be at any of the sales this fall for folks to meet you in person?
Yes, I know. We just actually were talking today with Phil Norwood about possible consignment for the horn showcase sale. We also should be bringing a couple cows there. We're planning on going to the legacy. I don't know what else going on from there, but we're at least be there, meet some people, if nothing else, just to get our name out, who we are, and meet and greet. And
those are 2 great choices. So I'm sure you'll be able to meet a lot of fellow breeders there, and hopefully they learned about you on their drive down by listening to this podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us, and thank you for everything you did on the website and helping us put our name out there.
Of course. Happy to do it.